Welcome back, everybody. This is Absurdum. We've taken a bit of a holiday.
These things happen.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about the Dark Souls video game franchise.
So good.
Before we get started, I will just tell you that basically I saw a couple of friends of mine play this game. They played it for a while. I've never played it myself. And they seem to really like it. And I saw a trailer for Dark Souls 3. And just from the trailer alone, I thought, this looks really interesting. It looks like there's more to this universe than I thought. So Alex has grinded his way through Dark Souls 1 and 2, so if he still has anything left other than tears to tell me about the game, I'd like to know.
So many hours. It's really funny because I got to start off by saying that I had a bet with Mike McKenna about a year ago, or maybe 12 months ago. I mean, about a year ago or about 15 months ago, I had a conversation with a friend of mine because I just had to get everybody around me into this game. Everyone had to play this game. It looked, from the surface, it just looks like the most banal, Western. It's like a Western fantasy guy with a sword, guy with a shield, magic guy. But it was so good for so many reasons. And I'm like, Mike, you gotta play this game. You gotta play this game right now. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. So I'll play Dark Souls. I think he said I'll buy or play Dark Souls if you beat the Mass Effect trilogy. And me being a total moron, I'm like, yeah, of course. But I didn't understand the mechanics of that bet. So now he's not buying the game until I beat Mass Effect 3. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, because I've seen you play the game, and from the trailer and from what little I've seen, this is what I know of the game. Mm-hmm. It's dark, which is obvious, but it's more than just dark. First off, the game is literally dark. I think the brightest thing in the game is a campfire on purpose.
Ooh, we use it in Orlando. Anyway,
I haven't seen a lot of the game. Remember?
Yes.
The other thing is that from the trailer, the new trailer that comes out, it seems like there's this whole intricate, complex mythos behind it. When I first saw it, I'm like, it looks like a game where you're fighting skeletons. That's cool. I play all kinds of games like that.
Oh my god!
I'm not gonna sit back and tell you that it's got this really woven, in-depth thing. And it seems like Dark Souls actually has more to it than just that.
It really does.
Yeah. So first off, tell me a little bit about the lore. What's going on?
Well, the lore is very captivating because it plays a lot along. It gives a lot to the imagination, and it lets the players sort of interpret a lot of things. A lot of gamers come in to play Dark Souls, they play it, and they say, I have no idea what's going on. And then they beat the game, and they say, I have no idea what just happened. Why is there a guy? Why he just exploded in flames? Why? Why is he walking into a dark thing? Who are these snake people? Why am I being swallowed by a snake man? But you look, but the key is you start reading, if you're intrigued by the world, because that's at the core of it, and I'll get into this in a minute, but the idea of tone, the idea of ambience is something that's so powerful in games that can make or break a game, and it can be the difference between wanting to play a game once and wanting to play a game all the time and being invested in the world. So you've got this world, and the essence of the Soul series games is sort of nihilism and entropy. You have Demon Souls, which is this encroaching fog. Boletaria, this kingdom, gets bereft by. It's very. Who's the Cthulhu guy again? Who's
Lovecraft.
That? Lovecraft. Actually, by the way, total tangent. Did you know that Lovecraft and Conan take place in the same universe?
What, Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah. Yep.
No, I did not.
Yeah, the authors were total bros, and they're so every time Conan makes every time the Conan mythos makes references to the old ones and the black ones and the not in the racist way, even though it was kind of racist, but yeah, it's actually Cthulhu. It's literally Cthulhu. Anyway, You've got this like entropic thing, and there's this old one, the old god that comes in that needs to be put back to sleep, and you're in the Nexus, and there's this cyclical element of like you beat the game. Spoilers, by the way, major spoilers. Dallas, you can agree, major freaking spoilers. Yeah. You beat the game and you defeat him, but like you're back in the Nexus, you're back in this purgatory, and it's this cyclical thing. Dark Souls is very much the same way. You've got like this age of fire, and you. But the fire is going out, and the fire of humanity is going out, and this undead curse is ravaging the land. Dark Souls 2 is even more like that because it's this, like, apparently the cycles have been going on ad nauseum forever and ever, and you're cursed, and your mind is wandering.
So, okay, from the 1 or 2 times I've seen you play this game, you are some kind of warrior guy.
Yes.
And... like, are you alive? Are you dead? Because it seemed like that was a question. And in most games, it's not a question. It's,
That's fair enough. Well, in Dark Souls 1, everyone's dead. Everybody's dead in Dark Souls. I don't think you see a single actual human because everyone's cursed with undeath. And
even the protagonist.
The protagonist begins the game as a walking corpse. You are a emaciated beef jerky skeleton, and you're maybe blue or green, depending on what color skin you took. And you wake up in this place called the Undead Asylum, and you are dead. The undead curse has taken you, and this is like, oh my, I could talk for hours about this. So you gotta rein me in at certain points.
Don't worry, I will.
Yeah. So like you're dead, and but you retain your sanity in the mythos of the world because you have your humanity. And humanity is an actual resource in Dark Souls 1. And this is a cool thing. And so in Demon Souls, you die, and you wake up, your soul wakes up in the Nexus. So you can be either body form or soul form. In Dark Souls 1, you are dead, and you can restore your humanity. You can become sort of quote-unquote human, but you're never actually not undead. You're just undead, but you look completely fine because you have humanity. In Dark Souls 2, the same thing. In Bloodborne, I actually haven't played Bloodborne because I don't have a PS4. And goddammit, put Bloodborne on the PC.
And it's in the same mythos? I didn't realize that.
It's a bizarre thing because, so Demon Souls came out, and Demon Souls was a particular publication, I think it was Bandai Namco, and From. And they had this thing with Sony where they put out this original IP for the PS3, and it was going to be this big thing, and they had the publication money, and they had the talent, and they made it. And they were going to make a Demon's Souls 2 with the exact same story, like continuing the story, but it wasn't, something fell through with legal. So they made Dark Souls, which is not necessarily in the same world. Like Boletaria and Lordran, the two areas from Demon Souls, Demons and Dark respectively, aren't actually the same world. But there's a lot, there are so many like consistencies and reused assets and reused ideas and monsters and weapons, themes, that it's like pretty much the same. Like Souls games, quote unquote, are all its own sort of sub-genre of games. I forget the question.
Well, no, like that all makes sense. So, okay, you wake up.
You're dead.
You can do things to restore humanity with
right.
a resource.
Yes.
Everyone and everything around you is dead. From varying degrees, probably like intelligible dead things
yes.
with which you can speak, and also crazy monster things that you just have to put down.
This is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so what is the goal of the game? What do you do? What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to push back the darkness? It seems a little too fatalist for that kind of traditional storyline.
There are two canonical endings to Dark Souls 1. But I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout way because there's this. I'm going to really nerd out here because I put Dark Souls up there with Shadow of the Colossus, with Silent Hill 2, with I don't know, Portal. Is that too? Is that too? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Grand Theft Auto 3, whatever. Like really, really good. Or let's just keep it at those three because those were good. Thematically, tonally perfect games. Is that you, as a player, you're just sort of wandering. Like you wake up in the asylum, and it's it's done so well visually because you see the world and you see sort of generally where you need to go, but the actions of the player mirror the thematic tones that are being set by the world of the game. And what I mean is, the player's wandering around and is sort of, faced up with these like incredible challenges. They appear visually. There's not a lot of narration. There's not a lot of hand-holding at all. The only real person you talk to in the first act of the game is this guy called the Crestfallen Warrior, the Crestfallen Soldier. And this is another thing with like contrast with thematic threads that go through the game. Demons, Death's Dark 1 and Dark 2 all have the same dude, and he's this nihilistic, spiritually broken, like jackass who just sort of like sits like a lump on a rock, and he's like, "Oh, another one's coming by. Oh, I suppose you want to ring the bells of awakening." And you're like, as a player, you're like, "What the fuck are the bells of awakening? What is that? I didn't hear anything like that." That was just like some other guy made reference to that before he died. He's like, "Oh, we'll go down here and go up there, but you'll never make it." And that's like, and as the character is walking around, the player's also sort of just wandering around. That also, the goal of the game on a player level is don't quit. Don't lose, because the beauty of the humanity, like, you can lose your humanity in the game. And you lose all your humanity, and it comes with a couple of elements, like you can't summon in friends from different worlds, and there's a multiplayer aspect we could maybe be able to talk about. You've got like a little less, what else? Like you get a bit more, I think, item find with more humanity. There's some certain tangential things that you get. But the real humanity, the real shit, is the player losing his own humanity, losing his patience, and screwing off from the game. Because, like, as the character, like, you see hollows in the world of Demon Souls, and it's like valiant knights and heroes that have lost their way, and people that have been overcome with, like, lust and vengeance, and they just go nuts, like, desire for more power. And you meet them later, and they're just like, blah, and they just attack you. But you, as the actual player, can quit at any time. Because it's just too fucking hard. And so you just leave. So your actual character goes hollow. Your physical game character. It's a perfect transition from like the game world into the real world, into the world of the player.
Yeah, see, it's interesting. Like, on the surface it seems very. I want to use the word dark, but that's a little too on the nose. It's very grim. It's very. The world itself seems, well, it's over. Most games you don't start when the world is over. You start when it's ending, and you have to like push back to whatever. Well, now it's over, and it's not like, oh, it's post-apocalyptic. It's fine. We'll just wear weird '80s like leather and stuff.
Spikes.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. It's no. The old one has come back. Everything is dead. Civilization is gone. There are just people wandering, and as a player, you're not given direction. You're just, well, here I am. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, okay. I guess I'm friends with skeletons. No, he's trying to attack me, so I fight him off. And it's interesting how the game itself is set up to kind of push a player to mire through the nothingness. And I mean, I picked this up just by watching you play for like 20 minutes. There's no direction. There's definitely no... in fact, as far as I could tell, other than meeting random other travelers and other people, which you don't even do because in the multiplayer aspect, like you were hinting at, from what I saw, everyone's in their own isolated instance of the game.
Yes.
And you're able to leave messages for people, but they're short and they're vague.
Yeah.
And the only interaction you're able to have with someone is you literally see, like, for like a second, you see their ghost, and then maybe some writing on the ground.
Yes.
So it's really interesting how it's kind of a depressing setting. It
really is.
But I mean, as a video game, it's very depressing. It's, there's no one here. There's no one left. Anyone left is dead. And it's something that we're going to come back to in a moment. But there's one thing. There does seem to be one glimmer of hope, maybe. There are people who praise the sun. So what's going on here?
So, okay.
I've heard this around the interwebs. Praise.
Fucking 420 praise it. There is so this actually, it's funny because this segues perfectly into what you were just mentioning, because there is that theme, and you completely encapsulate it, where the idea of it's over, you missed it. And that's something that very few video games do. And apparently Bloodborne actually did this very well as well. It's like there were these big catastrophic events, these massive things. Like you go, for instance, Anor Londo is a city in Dark Souls. It's a city, but it's completely desolate. And there's the sun, spoilers, but the sun is actually an illusion. There's no, you enter Anor Londo and it's this gigantic glowing radiant sun, and the world is bathed in sunlight. And you unravel the mystery, and you find out through a subterfuge and through insight that the sun actually doesn't exist. And then you kill the source of that sun, which is the illusion of this goddess, I think Gwendolyn. You shoot an arrow through her or what have you, and the sun disappears. So it's like that was an illusion too. So you missed this. This world has become desolate. And it's very amusing because there's a lot of like games have followings because they're captivating and because they have something that can be brewed upon by the player, something with like meat on the bone that you can chew, something that doesn't give you everything of the narrative, that it holds something back and, leaves something in a blur. And I think Dark Souls does this the Souls series does this so well. And the funny thing about this, and probably not intentional, but because the game is so dark and depressing and it's like very crushing, the difficulty is, it can be overcome and has been, but for a new player, it's very imposing. It's very, it can pull you down. But the result of this is that you have this niche of people that it's like the humor of the Dark Souls world just sort of comes out in like the community and joke videos. I'll get to Giant Dad in a minute, and those of you who've played Dark Souls know what Giant Dad is, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. But there was so there's a character named Solaire, and he is from the Covenant of the Warriors of Sunlight, and he's just this beaming, bright guy that you meet in the near the Undead Parish, and he's like he introduces you to the idea of summoning. So you can summon friends for jolly cooperation, for bosses, and to do various things in certain canned areas of the game. And players jumped on it. The PvP, there's this also this forested area. There's a house burning down near my building. There's a forested area where you have like a forest covenant where people war it out and also fight. But the community, even though the game is so depressing, the community is like embraces like the kitschy humor and like jokes and like memes and stuff like that. So to answer your question, Solaire is like the example of that, like funny, like people love Solaire because he's the one he has his journey. And Dallas, I don't know if you know this, but if you don't play your cards right, Solaire can actually die. He goes hollow, and you're forced to kill him in this tragic vignette. But if you play your cards right,
by die you mean loses humanity entirely and becomes
nothing, good. Because actually, it's good that you clarify that, because Solaire is also actually dead. He is also undead. And he will lose his humanity if you don't play your cards right. But that's that I always enjoyed how funny like Dark Souls humor is. Like there's like a YouTube force and like a humor community. There's like shirts. Like I don't know if you've seen how many pictures of people like with Solaire. People have drawn Solaire like pouring Sunny D all over themselves and like praising the sun. Like there's this really funny picture of a dude in front of his computer. He's dressed like Solaire with a goblet of Sunny D. Like you just don't get that kind of like. I feel like if the game was like you're the chosen one, you gotta kill the false king and kill streak, like it just wouldn't have had that kind of following if it didn't hit those tonal marks.
So to not leave our listeners hanging, what or who is Giant Dad?
So early on, before a couple patches tweaked a lot of the PvP, there's a huge PvP element in Dark Souls, because I think one of the things that really puts like the Dark Souls series hangs on its really, really tight third person combat. Like it's just tight. It's not like it's innovative in its tone, and it does the genre well, but I'm going to be the first person to say that it doesn't actually do a lot of new things outside of like the idea of this nihilistic, entropic fatal world of decay. It doesn't really, like, you've got dragons, you got wizards, you got a dude with a sword, you got axes, skeletons. And by the way, Dark Souls made skeletons cool. Dark Souls was the game that rose skeletons up to the lofty heights of terrifying fuck machines that will tear you apart. Holy shit, we'll get to that in a minute. But so anyway, PvP was a big thing, and people started making good builds. People started making troll builds. Enter Giant Dad. So there's a mask called the Mask of the Father that is dropped by a creature named I almost said Pindleskin. Diablo 2 rep. I can't. Maybe it is Pinwheel. So Pinwheel drops this mask, and the mask increases your equipment load, so you can wear heavier armor and still move faster. And the giant armor, the giant's armor, is the most defensive armor in the game, and it gives you the most poise. Now, poise allows you to continue the motion of attack even if you're hit. If you have 0 poise and you start an attack, even if someone throws like a little, fork at you, throws a little knife at you, you'll go like, ugh, and you'll stagger into a stagger animation and you can't complete the attack. If you have high poise, you can just like rear up an attack and someone's like wailing on you and stabbing you and you can just continue swinging and then you can just boom and smash him. There's a weapon, so you've got the giants, you got the Mask of the Father, i.e. Dad, and Giant's armor, hence the Giant Dad. And then you would have a Zweihander, which will flatten characters if you strike with them, but it takes a lot of time to wind up. Now, I say all these things, and I said all these mechanics. Contextually, it plays out like this. A guy with a Giant Dad build walks into a PvP environment, swings his Zweihander, smashes you to the ground, and because he has so much stamina, just mashes overhead, and just drains your health from 100 to 0 before you can do anything. And in the early PvP days, it was just like a funny, super funny thing to see. And people just started calling it Giant Dad. And then it became, I think Afro1 has a lot of really funny videos about Giant Dad. And he's very amusing.
It's funny how, like, PvP thematically, it's like, oh, finally a game mode where players can come together. Like, you're not just lost in this separate, isolating, environment. And finally we'll get a chance to congregate and perhaps share our humanity and do awesome things. And then, nope, the game itself, somebody comes in and is like, all your dreams are crushed.
Oh, dude. I will be the first to say that I created, late game, right before the release of Dark 2, I created a creature, not a build, a thing of nightmares. I'm not going to go to the details, but I sort of visually, I leveled, I got my character to a certain degree where he was only level like 5, soul level 5, but he had beaten the game. He had end game armor. And I tweaked him so that he had this big sort of squid head, corrupted humanity head. He had this big long robe. He had the spiked armor. He just looked huge and scary. But to a noob, it's like, what is this thing? To a seasoned veteran, it's like, okay, he's got such and such a helmet. He's got this armor. He's got this. But thematically together, it just looked terrifying. And I would just walk around the low level areas and summon myself. You can invade players. I think we haven't discussed that, but you can forcibly enter the world if they're human, and you can steal their humanity. And I had a katana that the more humanity I had, the more it was a chaos katana. The more damage it would do. So I was literally killing people and like getting their humanity and growing the power of my noob slayer sword. I was a bad man. It was a bad thing to do, but oh my god, it was funny.
All right, so switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
I was telling you, Alex, before we started recording about Destiny.
Yes.
And about one of the things, Destiny has been holding back a lot of their mythos, a lot of their story, and the players have been kind of filling it in. But what I find interesting is that there's a bit of a parallel here.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken in many different directions from one game to the other. But one thing I find interesting is in Destiny, the main story is, humans eventually get the ability to travel to Mars. It's a space game.
Yeah.
Go to Mars, we find this thing called the Traveler.
Yeah.
And it's this giant sphere, but it also seems to be sentient. And it basically comes to Earth and gives us a golden age. It delights us with technology and magic and all this stuff. And humanity, like, you know, we love it. We push out into the solar system, maybe even beyond. We do all this great stuff. And then we find out the Traveler is actually running from other aliens that are, you know, messing it up. And they come, the other aliens are called the Darkness, and they come in and they push us back. They push us all the way back to Earth, and nothing we or the Traveler can do can stop them until eventually the Traveler basically the Traveler starts giving us pieces of itself, its light, as it calls it.
Oh, yeah.
And we use that to try and push back the darkness. But we went from, like, you know, pretty friggin' awesome to now can't even leave Earth without getting, like, can't even leave a city
bitch slapped
without getting destroyed.
Yes.
And then we find out later that the Traveler may have done some bad stuff to these aliens, which is now why they're coming back to get us. And it's this whole thing. We don't know a lot of the story of Destiny because Bungie has been very, very careful about not giving a lot of it. I think they're trying to release it. But I find it interesting that there's this parallel. Dark Souls is very much, you're not the chosen anything. The world is over.
Actually, sorry, I'm going to... I can let you talk in a minute. You are actually the chosen undead.
Okay.
But there are many, I guess, for every player, there's like a quote-unquote chosen undead. So no one really, I guess no one really knows. If you beat the game, you're chosen undead.
So you are, okay, fine. World is over. Everything's dark. Everyone is dead, including yourself. There's no getting around that. Sure, you can get your humanity back, but you're still dead.
Yep.
It's, you know, it's not like the end of Disney movie where you're redeemed and everything's great. It's at best you make it to the end of everything and everything's still crap, but you got through it. And I find, like, Destiny takes a bit more of the kind of typical, like, you're not the chosen one, you are one of the guardians.
Yes.
And they take a more positive outlook. They, you know, you were literally full of light pushing back the darkness. But you're not going to recall the glory days of the golden age of the Empire. You are at best going to survive. And kind of makes me wonder if there's you know, people have been, like, I'm pulling a lot of strings here to make this point, but people have been, you know, complaining and noticing the whole Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan approach to superhero movies.
Grit.
Now you got games like Dark Souls and a little bit of Destiny where they're trying to really, like, there seems to be a really big push, you know, things are grim, and we'll get through them, but we're not going to, like, pierce the veil into the heavens and the sun will shine through.
Yes.
At best, we'll get through it. And I'm just kind of curious, like, what do you, like, for me, I like a bit of naive optimism to my recreation. I like stories where through, you know, compassion and determination and, you know, fortitude, the hero makes it through and everything is great. I understand it's simplistic. I understand it's not realistic, but it's inspiring, and that's what I like. Which is one of the reasons I probably won't play Dark Souls, because
a tragedy.
I can appreciate what it's going, like what it's doing, what it's trying to do, but it's just a flavor that I won't probably be able to stomach.
I feel that.
I'm just curious, what do you think about games like this and about this whole, you know, do you like this experience? This, like, the world is dark and everything is dark. Why? Like, what draws you to it?
It's very interesting because the first time I played Dark Souls, I actually got, like, creamed. I didn't beat
of course you did.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough. I just wasn't really doing it for me, and I actually shelved it for a couple of months. Counterintuitively, the reason that I come back to Dark Souls so often, because I replay it every couple of months, And I just love, like, Dark 2 is a different vibe, and I'm not just a big... it's a complex thing. I don't really want to get into, like, the niggling elements of why I prefer Dark 1 to Dark 2. I feel like a lot of fans can just sort of agree with me. A lot won't, but we can just leave it at that. But it's so funny because I've played it so often that it's become, like, my playground. Like, I know every nook and cranny, so it's kind of like completely counterintuitive because it's not necessarily like the grim, imposing tone that really appeals to me. I feel like the combat is super tight and it's such a captivating. It's like chess because you can totally destroy yourself and any chance of like surviving if you rush rashly into a situation in Dark Souls that you don't know what's going on. But if you know where to go, it feels intensely thrilling and empowering to know, like, okay, honestly, I've played the first 45 minutes of Dark Souls hundreds of times because I love that feeling of starting out and you're so weak and like, because of your guile and your understanding and like you're a little like beef jerky skeleton man sprinting around all these gigantic ogres like trying to smash you with the clubs, and you go down into the sewer and you have this special ring on that allows you to walk through the slime, and you pick up this thing and you go across the world and you pick up this other thing, and that like synergizes into this like, and then you're like a powerhouse and you can slice through people. Like it's that empowering, although I only feel that empowered because of the contrast. Because it's so, you can feel so weak in that world. That feeling powerful in the world of Dark Souls makes you feel like super powerful, and it can't be denied that. So like, to answer your question, I'm not really. It's not really a huge pull for me to that sort of grim, gritty, dark vibe, like tonally. I'm not really sure I like the genre because it can't be denied that like. When Demon Souls came out, and to a greater degree when Dark came out, because that came out for PC and consoles. It came out for Xbox 360, PS3, PC. So that was the big explosion, public relations-wise. You've got Deep Down. I think that's called Dark Down. It's all fucking blending together. Deep Down. You've got Lords of the Deep. Which were two quote-unquote Souls-like games that were trying to cash in on that, like, gritty, realistic, slow... Because there's a lot of Dark Souls is very slow. It's not really, like, quick action. You sort of, like, the attacks take a long time. And then, more recently, actually, a game came out that's called Darkest Dungeon, which is an RPG. Have you heard of Darkest Dungeon?
No, I've never.
It is the art style is terrific. It is a squad-based dungeon crawling RPG, but it's turn-based and highly statistical, highly methodical. There's a lot of stat building. You build your characters, and it's very Lovecraftian and very dark. Will I play it? Probably not. I like to watch streams of it. But that is definitely an example of the extreme end of... Because that game is just punishing. It's got a random number generator for attacks and damage. And you just see people... And like every character... This is a bit of a tangent, but like every player has like a stress level. And if they get too stressed out, they can have this like debilitating illness happen to them that never goes away. Like kleptomania or hopelessness or like... sadism. They get diseases, and like you could just the game is to make the best of a bad situation. So I appreciate and like the idea of like a valiantless, virtueless, sort of amoral, I suppose, world tonally. But I like Dark Souls in specific for different reasons. I like it because it's just tight and it makes me feel like a badass when I am successful.
Yeah, so I think it's you're in the same lines as I am, that you like, that recreation, that inspirational recreation where you're able to kick butt and have an awesome time. You just, in terms of Dark Souls, you're gonna get there, but you're gonna go through a much slower, like dark journey, like a very grim, a very unforgiving journey to that point. And I think there's a lot that can be said for that. Some games and other narratives, stories, books, movies, whatever they, they present. This is great. Be awesome, go, and everything's in the light, and everything's John Williams inspirational. And then you have the other side where it's like, well, okay, the world is dark, bad things happen. You can still get through it and be awesome, but the world is still going to be crap because you are not able to just fix and change everything. And I mean, I read a little bit too much into things, but it's a good alternative. I'm sure there are people out there who get tired of the sitcom movie typical, hello, my name is White Knight, and oh, you're damsel distress. Well,
Dick Starspeed.
Looks like we're gonna fall in love because that's how we're doing. So I could see stuff like this being a kind of you get to the same place, but you go through on a more convoluted, more, I wouldn't say realistic in terms of Dark Souls, but a more not super naively optimistic route, as maybe other games do. So you handle all my questions.
Thank you.
I think I'm pretty much done talking about Dark Souls for now, considering it's not my cup of tea. Do you have any final thoughts for anybody out there considering playing it or not?
Yes, I have. I have some thoughts. If you have not picked up Dark Souls, pick it up and play it. It's very, very good. You don't need to play Demon Souls to play Dark Souls. Choose the Master Key, kill the dogs first, and pyromancy is your friend. And I think with that, we can sign off till next time.
Those are words put in an order I don't understand.
You know what? Okay, I can't leave you on that. The Master Key lets you skip like 60% of the content and get to like a couple of very valuable places. The Capra Demon. You are fighting Anubis with 2 meat cleavers and 2 Cerebuses in a shoebox. Go. And that's one of the biggest like noob repellents is when they get to you walk, because previously you walk into these areas and it's like you go through these big fog doors. I think Dallas, you might have seen that when you watch me play. There's this big door fog and you walk in, it's wow, and you walk in and there's this big guy over there and he's got this thing and he's coming towards you and oh my god. But then there's this one boss room where you go and it's wow, and it's a dude like 10 paces from you and he's like, hey, what's up? Boom, 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 boom. And then dogs start biting your butthole. And pyromancy is good because casting fireballs is sick.
All right.
And that's about it for me.
Thanks for letting me pick your brain there, Alex.
It was my pleasure.
Entertaining to at least one person.
I love hearing my own voice, and I love talking about the things that I'm good at. It's like all humans. So long, everybody. We'll catch you next time on Absurdum.